In terms of team fights, Duke still has that going for him.
You're also managing team fights on the side of FPX as well. Look at the Lysandra band.
So we're looking for changes here. Some pretty big changes here.
Enough,
turn the sound down and stuff like that. So, oh, that's subtitles. Speed. Yay. Alright, so, already important notes. Note number one, IG actually show respect bans here. Very big respect, in fact. They ban away Urgot Lysandra. So these, remember we're on patch 9.2, so the SKT special of running these champions who can roam well, who have good lane ganking, who can gank other lanes, and who team fight well. That's what FunPlus Phoenix want to do. They out-skirmished in game number 2, and then they had the team fight draft anyway. So, having Lysandra and Urgot, it's just too easy. They can be blind picked, so going to be interesting to see what FPX replace those champions with. That's why I was talking about Jace macro, is that you can't just replace Urgot with Jace and be fine. Yes, the lane is even stronger than it was before, but Jace macro is so different to the macro you need from an Urgot, because Urgot can team fight much better. Anyway, we zoom into this game. Alistair first pick. Not something we see in Korea much, you'll note, right? I've been surprised to see so much LEC and LPL first pick Alistair. I think that Crisp has played so well in the roams that I don't mind it, and it gives them another game of Kai'Sa Alistair. But Alistair's laning phase is a bit wonky, so I'm not a huge fan on it first pick. It's fine though. 9.2 bans, so the Jace ban is a 9.4 special, Kali and Aatrox. No Aurelia ban just yet, so remember Aurelia is still a viable champion on this patch. Mentioned there by the casters, but Gimgoon is a OG Kled player, even longer term than Doinby, I think. So, given that, don't mind banning away those sort of tools. So they banned away 3 top laners here. Gimgoon has largely been on engage, meet, shield with the ability to combo a Kai'Sa in those 2v1 scenarios, but just be like a hard CC champion. So we'll see what the changes are. This is blind pick top. Okay, blind pick Gangplank. This is very interesting. We should pause it here and talk about this one. Yeah, Rise does make a lot of sense. Doinby special, he was famous for Righteous Glory Rise, so very real chance. Let's talk about this. So, on 9.2, they're blind picking Gangplank. Seems super bold, right? To blind pick Gangplank. He's already got a compositional answer in Syndra because you just swap between lanes, you don't build a lot of health, and you know, do you have to go Sterix second just so Syndra doesn't blow you up? You can't be a frontliner. So that's pretty insane. Now, the first thing to notice is nameplates. The Shy is not playing this game. Duke is playing this game, and that matters and doesn't. Duke is a very good laning player. Definitely in 2015, he was probably the best in Korea laning top laner. 1v1 lane. It was a reason why Najin won so many games. On SKT, I think he had to become a TP player because I think SKT needed him to be something else. But he's a great laning player and he shows it from time to time. He could definitely be taking a Cassiopeia, for example. But largely on IG, it's been to square up the team. And it's also the time, because this is after a Fiesta game where they got ultra blasted. They usually lock in Duke here for his smarter shot calling. You know, he's a level head player. And you would think his effective pool is going to be more of the tanks, right? So I think that's an important thing, nameplates. But also, how did FPX win the last game? They just hit the map better. And the thing about this game is, think about how last game went. IG sent extra resources top, couldn't really get a big lead around Darius, and instead of playing in the other lanes, played in the Darius lane. If that happens here, GPO is going to get you a lot of turret dives with Alistair, Kai'Sa, Ryze, Jarvan. So their ability to play 2 lanes here is pretty insane. But the question is, how bad is the GP matchup going to be? That's kind of what you have to take into account here. Is yes, it is very bold, but because it's Duke, because of some of the champions that are banned away, coming into this game, I mean, I just don't think Duke's going to play Gnar like the good old days, right? Gnar would have been the spot in previous years to straddle the line between beating GP and team fighting. We saw a lot of that in spring. You really like FBX based on game 2, recreating that if Tian's pathing is down, and man, he was amazing in game 2, and the GPO guarantees some things. Let's see what Duke takes. In previous seasons, it would definitely be Nar. Because now you're a bit, like, dumbfounded if you're IG, like, into me, really? And it's going to be this Renekton pick. This pick's pretty big in the LPL. Seen a little bit of it in other regions. We had it in the LCK, but like it just didn't do its thing early enough, so just lost, right? And that's just kind of been the case for champions. But that's not necessarily, to me, a pass-fail state for a champion. Like, Camille was super good in 2018, but Korean teams macro around Camille sucked, so the Camille lost a lot. But I'm always happy to watch more Renekton. Obviously a punishing lane matchup into the GP, but one that he can actually, in the early levels, be okay in. And it's only a little bit later that there's kill pressure onto him, right? You can't take Ignite like it's solo queue. So this is definitely in Duke's wheelhouse pick, but to me it beats GP less than Nara beats GP, which, you know, don't know how I feel about that. I already mentioned this in the pre-show, by the way, but I think the Nara's back as a Yorick counter. So that's it's a bit of free analysis information there. Write it in Twitch chat before other people do. When you see a blind Yorick, you look very smart. But IG bounce back game, you know, they took a pretty hard loss in game 2. They were slammed. So now you look at it and you say, if FPX are even 80% as good as they were in the previous game, you got GPO plus the same sort of guarantees around Jarvan Alistair for them to play bottom mid lane pretty well. So let's see how that comes together. That's right. Cheer out there, LPL fans. So 9.2 Conqueror's there. Can proc it on the minion wave. Means if GP goes for a cheeky Q onto a cannon minion, get in there and get a nice trade with the Fury on Duke. Otherwise, pretty unremarkable. I guess the phase rush on Syndra is a bit different. Rookie is the best Syndra player I've ever seen. He is unbelievable at this pick. He was blind picking out of meta in 2018, and he wins all the hard matchups on it. This is not a hard matchup onto the Rise, so should be a hard winning lane in mid. Priority-wise, there's a lot to like. Duke should have priority topside. We said it's not going to be that big, but it's still priority, right? Tian's meeting him, misses the EQ. I don't know if you win this one, Tian. Yeah, Tian needed to defensively smite the blue just to not die, and then it was going to be about a response coming through, so cool to see. 49.51 is pretty poggers for a fan vote. They give up the blue. This is the right call from Tian. He's got a GP topside. If you fight for this with Rise GP against Renekton Syndra and then die, it's your own fault, so very, very hard to contest too much as Tian. It's only level 2 though, so that's why he's going back in. Ning's taking damage. Is Ning just going to get solo killed? Oh, man. How can that happen? Let's watch this again. How embarrassing. Alright. So Tian walks back in. Syndra's pretty far back. Renekton's focused on the minion wave. When do they respond? I guess the communication's bad between Ning and his lanes. Like, Ning dies with flash up, with Renekton having shove in the top, and Syndra, okay, she wasn't pushed in, but she wasn't in a bad spot in mid. That's really bad, to get solo killed by the enemy jungler. That's a Monka's moment right there. Oh boy. That's a tilter for good old Ning. Ning didn't have to go in for that one. There's just a disconnect between lanes. We've seen that a couple of times today. It's not the maximum loss because he has all the camps on his side. He's not going to get counter jungled, but what a bizarre passage of play. Well, so again, the key moment in this game is level 6 on GP and maybe to a lesser extent Jarvan. And then bot lane's under a lot of pressure. It is Tom Kench, so it's one of the easiest relief pressures. So maybe you adjust to mid lane, but With GP, it's always how can we win in mid bot, and it's either turret dive and kill, or it's get a Drake and make it hard to contest. Now, Syndra for now showing a lot of respect. Knows her jungler is kind of licking his wounds a little bit. Actually looking for a back timing, so that's why you see them come to lane. How do we like this one on the ultra late game? I think Renekton's struggle is probably the most pronounced of everyone. Kai'Sa with this much hard CC can reposition, so it's very unlikely for Cassio to actually do a lot of relevant damage to her. So yeah, maybe it's the 2.5 items lockout that's important. Okay, how did he get in here? I didn't see the Jarvan. So Jarvan EQs, I assume around Vision, walks all the way around River and then ganks bot lane. Oh, Tian, man. This guy is so good. He doesn't get much out of it, but I love the path there. It's with a really good lane state, too. He starts this play when they have this epic freeze. They did it again, chat! They just love getting it around here, and Jackie Love and Balan. It's very hard to chase on the last bit of damage here when you're low mana. And that's when the roamed gank starts bottom. So it's just been, if you remember to the roam timing in game 1, it was about the wave being frozen around here, and then Crisp got a full back, went mid lane with Moby Boots, and got the plate gank in. And then in game 2, it was the same. And now in game 3, because we're playing these champions, like Ezreal and Cassio, who kind of like have to chase for Qs in order to, and E's to push in the wave, they're finding gank timings against Tahm Kench with heal and Cassiopeia. I'm a really big fan of the timings they're finding. Now, to Jackie Love and Balan's credit, they were already tending towards the midpoint of the wave before they got the epic bad news, but it's still the right time. It's still showing good coordination between the 3 Chinese players on the side of FPX, Tian, LWX, and Crisp. Remember, that is 3 Chinese speakers. Okay, Doin BS speaks Mandarin Chinese, so it's less of a point. But I assume Kim Goons is pretty decent by now, but... Whoa! Look at this. This is an epic... I like how the Chinese camera control knew it was a visual bug, but if you didn't know it, oh man. What a legendary moment. Ning is either the most alpha jungler of all time, you know? He's being like, yeah! Want those ranged minions, huh? But no, he was never there. It's been so long now that I find the visual bug much funnier than I do sad. Like, it's kind of sad that it's persisted this long, but at least it's predictable. So if you guys don't know, it's if a movement command is one direction, it can visual bug continue in that direction if you choose to stop. But man, it leads to some really funny moments, and moments to laugh is always great. Ning's back, though. Back in the scene of the crime, top side. Now, he would probably expect there to be a blast plan here, but obviously the control ward gives him the full bad news. And then there's no stopwatch, so Gingun's dead. Oh, this is a really big moment for IG. They win in bot lane, and they get the ult drawn, and they get the kill. This is... So this is what should never happen with a GP drop. Jarvan comes for the counter gank, and then, you know, he can't really do anything. And that's where GP ult was used for wave clear, not bot lane, and they get the 2v2 kill bot lane. This is what should never happen with GP. This is when the macro falls apart, right? When GP gets dived as bot lane loses as well. So everything was misused. They didn't flash on Gingun, but they lose a 2.5 minute cooldown and get 2v2 killed, and LWX has to flash. So they lose a lot here. So the GP ult's used for wave clear top side. I think the Jarvan is the one that's a bit peculiar here. Maybe you just chill under turret and try to 2v3. I think the moment that you disengage from turret, you can't really re-engage and do anything. I think you're already boned in that space. So I feel like he was never going to do anything top. And then GP ults the wave and doesn't have stopwatch. I mean, that's fine. But then bot lane gets 2v2 kill. That's actually an egregious problem. IG run away with games way more than they don't after a mistake like that. And now they're looking for more. They held on to kick. They don't get it. Okay, so we just kill Rookie. So Rookie flashed in the turret dive. Let's find that one. When did he flash? So Rookie takes turret aggro as the only person that shouldn't. Just a straight up mistake. In vision. And that's why he dies. Watch the mid lane. Rookie's playing towards his control ward top side. This is really good capitalizing. It's getting from Tian. It's the perfect time. Now, Rookie is, again, let's pause it. He's playing to his control ward. So, like, he is, compared to when we were kind of splitting hairs about whether it was the right place to stand for, I think, Niski in our first series. Maybe it was Bjergsen. This time, he doesn't have flash. He knows the enemy knows that. And he's playing to his control ward and his allies. So, he is definitely not too far in the center of the lane. That lane positioning only means I'm a bit scared. Also, I have friends in a control ward topside. And yet, Jarvan the Fourth has flash. And he knows that Cataclysm is all that's needed. So it's EQR. He doesn't get the EQ damage. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to flash for it either. He knows he can EQ for range. And then R against Syndra. She's not going to be able to do anything. So it's still really good pathing from Tian. It's just both teams playing well. But credit to Tian for seeing the 2v1 like play out in front of him. And then knowing there's no way they mess up on that. So I think that's one of those ones where you see why Jarvan might be underappreciated as a jungler, because tank Jarvan can always do that. Top side, well, you know, GP's got a GP. They just die a lot. But all we're hoping is the next ult is going to be on point. Doinby doesn't shop. He's actually still not shopped. They're going to try this anyway. This is bold. He has no mana. But he's just pure. Okay. So why do they make this play? See, at this point, Doinby's like, give me the blue. Like, topside's dead. I'm going to lose blue buff. Why do you make this play, PapaSmithy, is a fair question. They make this play with Doinby going in with no mana to keep the turret up. So it stops turret play, just the simple reason, but it's also GP needs a lane to farm in, and they still want to play bot side. So keeping there being reasons to go top side, you're fine if Gimgoon dies a third time, but you need Gimgoon to have a lane to farm in with ult, and that's why they want to maintain that. Tian, oh boy. I love Jarvan. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. That's an awesome play on the gank timing there. They got the double control ward. Was a single control on the enemy, but these roam timings have been so good. When did we... Let's see where the minion wave was when this happened. It was even, but it wasn't pushing out. It was pushing back. So it wasn't going to be frozen as far as I can tell. Kai'Sa does lose relevant CS this time, if you notice. Alistar leaves lane. 73 CS. 73 CS. But LWX and Crisp, they discuss it well. It's not about ganking bot this time. It's about getting an Alistar to play off. Still a really good roam timing. Here is that same minion wave. So we know not too many minions are going to be lost to the wave. It means they have to give up something. Or do they? Who's the TP on here? It's Doinby, who's on his mid lane initiator of the Rise. So drawing a lot of teleports here. I love this. I love this game of Drake Chicken. Let's play Drake Chicken, chat. Ning says, alright, you're finally bot lane. Cassio's got the main, but you don't want to miss those minions. I'm going to solo this Drake. Understandable. Doinby says, thank you very much, I'm Rise, get the hell out. Also understandable. Advantage Doinby, he's very scary. Then, Duke says, no, it's an Inferno. I really, really want this. And that will get them that. My favorite is the ending part where Gimgoon says, good day, sir. I'm going to get some free farm and teleports top. So that tells you what was going on here in terms of the comms. They were just seeing what they could draw out. They draw out Duke's teleport, which makes his lane assignment actually a little bit tricky. All he can do now is dunk lane, and maybe that will force Lee Sin to go top side to salvage what's going on here, especially when the Cannon Barrage comes back up. And it gets Gimgoon some farm. He was way, way behind on farm before, so I don't actually mind it at all. But it is fun, the musical chairs that happen in pro play there. Gimgoon just with the ultimate, like, aha, a clever ruse, I'm top. But you know, it is probably time to turret dive him again soon. You want to cut off all these entrances. So Baolan is walking up for a turret dive top Abyssal Voyage. There, that's why he gets caught. Trader Summoners, do they lose any relevant ones? Well, they lose Doinby, that's for sure. Oh, do they? Do they? Baolan takes it. That's not great. Gimgoon again gets free farm. Let's watch this again. So let's talk through what happens in this play. They want to secure Rift Herald control and also threaten an Abyssal Voyage top. That's why they walk up. And then Chris just all-ins onto Rookie to try to get him out. The Renekton gives up this play, and it's Renekton grouping, you know? He's walking down a group. He's not the best grouping champion. So if you notice, Renekton's roam timing was so unlikely to get them a kill, however strong the Renekton is, and it gets Gimgoon a lot of free time, and importantly, some turret plates. He actually has even turret plates as GP versus Renekton. Think about that part. Like, this is where Renekton should be super ahead. And he is ahead, but he's not super ahead. And that's a problem, because it's Renekton, right? So, this turret plate, if he especially can make it equal turret plates over here, could be so big. So he gets a turret plate and free farm topside for a kill mid lane. Now, you never want to give up a kill. But given that GP has been taking it this game, I actually don't mind the play here. Plus, to get this single kill, IG lose farm on Renekton and get Lissandra Syndra flash and Baolan's flash. They get 3 flashes for 1. It's so hard to evaluate, right? Because gold-wise, it's a slight advantage to IG, but it's not worth it. IG actually had to do so much there to just make their roam mean something, and then they come back in, and Ning ain't got no flash. So starts off a 1 for 1. Yeah. In the cast, you don't normally see those sort of out trades, but they get the Syndra and the Lee Sin flash and Baolan's flash in that fight for 1 kill, and the plates already make up some of that gold onto GP and get him to his 1 item to be relevant. Look at this gold here. It's 500 gold down only, and that's not Klepto, that's Resolve Tree. So definitely you're seeing why Gimgoon was happy to teleport top and also happy for his laner not to get roamed on, because Renekton doesn't roam that well. Renekton destroys. You know, he dives, he kills champs in vision, but he doesn't roam to mid lane very well. So the roam timing there I don't think was great from Duke. If it's the Shy, I don't think he roams there. I think he finds a way to dunk harder. And now, Trinity Force is done. Now, arguably, Gimgoon at this present item point with almost 2 items from Renekton and level 11, he's ahead of the Renekton. So actually, they're in a gold advantage here, like more than the gold necessarily reflects. Got the Righteous Glory coming from Ryze. They got, you know, good damage dealers here. Some damage from Jarvan, a lot of damage from Ryze, just from base values. But it's going to be mostly about the Kai'Sa 2 items. And when Righteous Glory is done, so is Rage Blade. And that's where FPX want to outnumber and also pick up kills. So that's what we're excited for here, is how does 2-item LWX really close this game? Because right now, Renekton's actually boned. He lost his turret. He's taking Krugs. Meanwhile, GP's closing the CS gap, pushing out. GP's much better at being denied than Renekton because he has a good 6-item build, he has a good 1-item power spike, and he can ult, so he's always going to be globally relevant. A lot of time being spent on getting this turret. But the Rift Herald was an objective IG really wanted. Like, consider they weren't able to get a Rift Herald in Renekton versus GP and Syndra versus Ryze as your top side. Like, this should have been the freest 10-minute Rift Herald, but from some greed and some good times and some good restraint, FPX were able to delay the Rift Herald when it's not going to provide gold anymore and slow down the game. And to get an answer to a question that I think some people are remembering, remember how FPX invested their Realm Warp to topside to keep GP's turret up? It's still up at 18 minutes. It's still up at 18 minutes. So that means that GP never fell comically far behind. And it was definitely worth using the Ryze's time to come in to keep the turret up, because he kept up the turret. Like, that was a big win. If they get a 19-minute Rift Hold, you don't care if you're FPX. That's 19 minutes more you got to get Righteous Glory into the Stormrazor and Rageblade on Kai'Sa. Guys, if you're joining late, it's patch 9.2 if you're surprised by the Stormrazor Kai'Sa. Hopefully by this weekend we're going to have the new patch. Maybe we'll have some 9.4 LPL reviews next week. But yeah, the patch is relevant here. And now Gingun's like, well, what can I do, right? And the answer's nothing. He's just going to get zoned by the Lee Sin that set up a camp. Wonder how this game would have gone if Lee Sin played mid-bot side instead. I feel the same way about the previous game as well. Anyways, we push forward here. The game definitely not over from an IG perspective, but FPX are closer than they should be. Like, I feel like this is not a... This feels like where we were in game number 1, but that's why IG had a 5,000 gold lead, and also Ning that could brawl forever. This time Ning isn't ahead. You know, he's slowly building a Black Cleaver second. They've got the Rift Herald to force people to react, but now Ryze in the backline is a problem. LWX is close to 2 items. Ideally, I'm sure LWX and Calm is saying, please, God, I just need another 1225 gold, and then I'm golden. But IG would do well not to allow that. It's another one of those games where they should have really high map uptime to stop FPX from ever getting back into the game. More people are asking about the Ryze build. This is something Doinby has done for the longest time. Righteous Glory Ryze. The reason why he does it is he knows his role on this team is to be the leader of the charge, be the figurative Kled. He wants to be able to initiate and choose the target and trust that Kai'Sa GP will do the heavy lifting in terms of damage. Now, you don't lose out too much on damage here. You know, if you're comparing to a Rod of Ages at this point, you know, the Rod of Ages takes time to stack, right? You're not going to get that much AP in the early game. You get some mana from the build. But the reliability of playmaking is so high. And it's a playmaking region. Like, I think it's a great item for the region he's in. It means there's never going to be a chance to get away in those scenarios. I like the piggyback play there from Doinby. A little bit risky because he doesn't have teleport, but he has a semi-global and the enemy's Baron speed. It's Luden's Echo. No blue buff Jackie Love, so I guess there's a chance. But it's too early, I guess, for Baron to be a real contestant. GP can delay it. But Righteous Glory, Rylai's, target acquisition. Champs can do a lot of stuff. It's like, for a long time, there was a really extended question about should Kennen build Rylai's. Most people scoffed at the build for a while, but I was a big fan because it meant that this threat range of a Kennen would be every Mark of the Storm, not just for the amount of time the stun was up. Murktris doesn't do that much against Rylai's. Seeing IG try to gank onto good old Doinby. He's always going to be slowing, and he's so tanky, right? Watch how he plays this. Slows onto Ning. Ning's out of the fight. We're going to zoom and teleport over to the right side. I'm guessing the Stormrazor Rageblade is done, and it's a lot about moments like this. If you make any mistakes against a target acquisition build, whether it's Rylai's Kennen or Righteous Glory Rylai's Ryze, you're going to get caught and die. There's no kiting someone who can snare or slow you every half a second. Really nice play from Chris to disengage. It's great Baron timing. Again, some Korean teams wouldn't take the Baron there, but Crisp says, I'm Alistair, I'll fix this, and he does. Super good play from FPX, and it's to their item timings. The Rageblade is done like we were talking about before. So Rageblade is done. They're full power now, but IG say it's 3v1, let's kill Ryze. Smart early flash from Doinby, and then actually, even before IG realize it, they're boned. At this point, they should know they're done. Because they have hard CC enablers with Jarvan, Alistair. That means that Kai'Sa will always find her man, and Ryze can't be killed or kited. So they just can chase for days. They get the Baron from the play as well. A proactive play from IG, one of the most proactive teams in the world, is turned on its head because of Doinby doing it the Doinby way, IG being a little bit too foolhardy, and just item timings really being played to by FPX. So this is a big lead now. I mean, it doesn't reflect in the gold, but the members of FPX use higher gold values better than IG. They've got a range 80 carry, IG does not, so the ease of closing the game is higher. They have hard CC in a front line, and IG's front line is Renekton building damage, and then situational frontline, so that makes FPX easier to close out games. And then you just have people like GP, whose 3rd, 4th, 5th item make him stronger. And don't be so tanky, he doesn't give any cares about turrets or Syndra. Remember, he just turret dived a Syndra with 2.5 items. That tells you that the Righteous Glory Rally's build is working out pretty good. 60 CS up as well. Just Gimgoon things. Sorry, just Doinby things, I should say. Been able to play this well. And play around the gank assistance. Remember, they were getting Ryze ults, GP ults, and Jarvan ults in the mid lane. And he's turned this into a big lead. And now Syndra's behind. Who does Syndra one-shot? The answer is nobody. Kai'Sa with Hex Drinker will probably live. Ryze, Jarvan will live. Even GP smartly built up a Spectre's Cowl. You don't need to build a Spirit Visage. It's enough, and it's Alistair. Enough said. So, Rookie has no locus of control. There's so many games where a Syndra, you have to respect max range QER killing a squishy. But FPX don't have anyone like that. And the threat range of this Ryze is way higher than any of the Ryze build, with the Rylai's and Righteous Glory extending his effective range. You know, people love Rapid Fire Cannon, right, on an AD carry for a situation where every 5-6 second auto attack. Righteous Glory is just like having Ghost. You have to respect that if you're too far up a lane with, 9 turrets down in the game, Righteous Glory will catch you, and you can't turn onto the Ryze because he's too damn strong and tanky. So, effective range of Ryze is actually bigger than Syndra's for the first time in the history of the world. We already know that GP's effective combat range is bigger than Renekton, because Renekton is very much about dominating a 1v1. And then Kai'Sa chooses a spot. So, really, really like what FPX are. And outside of really niche kind of 6-item builds where Syndra with 6 items can do more than smite over a wall and things like that, IG are actually in a really, really bad spot. Gonna watch this play. Let's see how this one started. I miss how it started. It's actually Chris with a 2-man pulverize again. And they just kill Balan because it means there's no frontline now. Even the temporary frontline's not there. Oh, it's just beautiful. The EQ into R was super, super cool to watch. Yes, ends up being too much and Duke turns it up, but damn if it didn't look cool. Let's watch the replay on this one. I think the problem here is that LWX goes out of follow range. Now, we don't get the replay, but LWX goes out of follow range, and actually Ryze and GP can't do any damage there, so a funny moment to end that one. Baron turn. I'm just waiting for Chris' next 3 to 4-man pulverize. Yeah, a bit of Kai'Sa syndrome there on the ultimate, I guess, in hindsight, but it looked clean. I'm going to give him that much. Not too much posturing to get them to fully disengage off the Baron, you'll notice. They're straight back on it. Can we get a item update? Nope. So Lee Sin has 2 control wards, Alistair has 2 control wards. I'm wondering why they went straight on starting Baron. It's probably because the minimap, if you look at bot lane, the minions are pushing in hard. They have the Realm Warp to turn off this if they're almost on cooldown. So they don't have a vision exhaustion like they need here. So this was a big bluff by the side of FPX. They aren't seriously going to finish that Baron. Duke finally gets in there. He has teleport. Gingyun used his teleport, so that's something to remember, is there's TP advantage for Duke, but it doesn't matter that much. They're back on the Baron again. Ning knows about this. They're fully aware. Look how fast this Baron is! So this is really interesting. Crisp goes in early, and it actually ends up being a bad Baron play here. Yes, they get the Baron, but here's what I'll talk about. If you watch what happens, Crisp this time goes in too early. Ning still gets into the pit. It's a true 50-50 Baron, right? There's no shenanigans about that one. And yes, FPX win it. But the counterpoint I have here is you like their scaling, you like their 5v5, you like their front line. There's many more futures where FPX wins this game than IG does. And so to go for what ended up being just a click of an F or a D to get the Baron, which potentially could win or lose the game for FPX, is straight up bad. You should not be making a play like that when you trust in your scaling. But they burn the Baron too far and then end up in this spot where they put all their faith in Crisp's disengage, but it won't work every time. You can flash over a headbutt, right, if you're Ning. Like, in this case, he got over the wall, but with FPX's spot in this game, actually it's a mistake to burn this Baron, and I'm not interested in the fact that they got it and will win the game from it. That's not how you play out when too many of the futures suit you, you know? It's all about the same, like, parallel universe theory, you know, that they use on Marvel Comics and stuff. Like, so many of the futures you won that fight that going that boldly and into a 50-50 is straight up a mistake. But look, they got it, you know? It's one of those, well, they made a mistake, but they got it moments. If you were IG in the reverse scenario, I think you do actually try to take the Baron because I think you lose this game more often than you don't. But for FPX to be the ones to get it into 1,000, that's a mistake. And now they have a damn tanky front line. Baron on a couple of members, I would assume. What happens here? So Ning is looking for a pick against the enemy team, and Tiandis is so assertive, right? He just goes straight in. That's why we don't see Cinderhawk Jarvan that much in my region. And Cinderhawk Jarvan, he just goes in, baby. He does what it says on the tin, you know? He goes in, and he forces fights. And that's all they needed, was someone to start it. And they knew that Ryze and Kai'Sa would end it, so FPX just win from that play. I love their shot calling, and you know that Doinby is the one that deserves most of the praise, but people around him are stepping up as well. They're so assertive about just pulling the trigger, and they pull the trigger comps. They will replace Lissandra with Ryze every time they can get it. Lissandra, Ryze, Kled. That is the effective champion pull. Look at how happy Doinby is. You would have thought he won the LPL there, but it's because they took down IG, right? They took down the first real test, as Raz says, and what you need to understand about FPX and these Doinby teams is they just play the game differently. The mid laner is going to be the one who you can always rely on to do the comms and to initiate. And that's what happens when you play Ryze, Lissandra, Kled. These are champions that go. And his shot calling is confident. Like, they don't win every game. Like, Doinby's been on losing teams before, but he has a confident shot caller who will always pick a go button, and that is why you see Righteous Glory rivalize Ryze. Because he trusts in his choice, and his team trusts him to follow. So that's already a big thing, right? A mixed language roster that can have an initiator and a team captain that people trust. And he also picks initiator champions, and the team goes in one-mindedly into it. And I think that is really working here. Like, that is what we're seeing on this squad, and there seems to be different personalities than there were on Rogue Warriors, but it's cool to see a team win the game and think about the game differently. Not everyone thinks about the game like Doinby, but he puts all of his heart into it, man, and that I respect. So I come away from this being actually more high on FPX than I was previously. I think it was too easy to dismiss them because of who they'd played. And then you see the fact that they play pretty similar comps, and you're like, what does it mean? But they're not playing champions that are banned out on 9.3 and 9.4. They, like the Urgot's not a big pick for them in this series, as you can tell. The Flex Assassins aren't where they find their wins either. They just play hard crowd control, predictable style. And they have really good synergy between their three Chinese players, especially. They all trust Doinby as an initiator. Gimgoon kind of does his own thing in top. And then I loved all the roams with the frozen wave in the bot lane. And then just 3 great Alistair roams off the back of that. 3 games on blue side. So I think FPX are the real deal. Like, they really have a lot of stuff here. They don't strike me as a team that's going to be patch reliant. So unless you really have to run carries in the mid lane, unless a lot of mid lane initiators are taken away, I'd be really high on them. If the meta really severely moves away and suddenly you can't play Ryze, Kled, or the Lissandra, then maybe things change. But outside of mid lane meta getting weird in a year or so, whether it's been like mid lane as a combo style player, I think actually there's a lot to like about FPX. In this game. And IG, they were trying a lot of things here. I think they made some pretty poor plays in the games. Like, it feels almost undisciplined is how I would look at this series. Like, IG always pushes buttons and pushes forward, but an organized team versus an unorganized team, and the organized team not putting too much into the nameplates and actually playing their own game and getting the same tools most of the time to do it, beats the unorganized team. So really big congratulations to FPX on this closeout. That was a really well played series from them. Definitely a lot snappier than our first series, where we had a lot to talk about in the LCS game, but that one was fun.